Guys, what's going on? It's great to be back. Edsel Dope. You are our first interview in 2 years. I mentioned that we've
honored.
We've done Backstage Entertainment for. Oh, you're already finding my shit too.
Your shit.
There you go.
For you.
All right. Well, yep. Okay, that's an extra piece. So we're
Pick
not.
that off the floor. Just
That's
wanna make
right.
Sure they don't lose their gear.
We are a little rusty. So we've done Backstage Entertainment 2010 to 2014, and then I got another job that Backstage Entertainment helped me get. I was an entertainment supervisor for the Hard Rock in Sioux City, Iowa, and now I'm back to Backstage Entertainment, so we're here again for you guys, providing the interviews with guys like these.
Dig it.
All right. So, Dope, you guys are on tour. We're in Omaha, Nebraska, Sokol Underground. What's been going on with you guys? Because you guys have been in and out of the scene, and now tell us too, have you guys and yourself specifically been doing any other side projects as well?
No, nothing worth mentioning. But it's been a little while in between albums. I needed to take a little break. For the first 5 records, man, we were nonstop. A record every other year and touring. From 1999 up until that last record came out. So it was time to put the brakes on, focus on personal life a little bit. Had some growing up to do. Had some, priorities change a little. As you get a little older, you realize that, you go on tour for a significant period of time and you kind of come back to real life and you realize that, your little nephews have grown up and, things have progressed, but your life has been the same, It's like a hamster in a wheel. It's every day is the same. It's kind of crazy. So I need to take a little break. But we got a new album. We're doing a cool tour. It was a reunion of the old dudes from the Die Motherfucker Die lineup, which is really cool. We haven't played together in a really long time. We got back together in Russia last year and did a live album. That was really cool. And now we're doing this tour. Then the record comes out. And then I'm sure next year will be, more touring and so on and so forth. But my bass player, AC, on this tour also plays in the Misfits at the moment. He's been playing with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts since he played with the band. Virus played with David Draymond and Device for a while. So everybody's staying busy, man. The Dope lineup is more like a fraternity at this point. There's no set lineup. It just depends on who's available and what I'm working on. Different guys come in and out all the time, but it's always a good show. It's always a talented lineup of guys that know how to do the gig. So it's good, man.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Virus, he's actually a Backstage Entertainment alum. When he was here with Device, he was on our interview. So
there you go.
Yep, exactly. So we're making full circle here.
I like it.
Yep. So you talk about a new album.
Yep.
Blood Money Part 1.
Correct.
It's coming out here pretty soon. And you talk about growth.
Yep.
From this album and recording it to past albums, how do you feel the growth is shown in the album?
I wasn't really talking about growth musically. I was talking about personally, to be honest.
Okay. Has that helped you, though, with the album, or was it pretty much the same process?
Yeah, I think my records are more a reflection of my experiences. So, the last 7 years of my life have been a lot more personal and, maybe a little more of this and a little less of this.
Yeah.
But I feel like our last album, No Regrets, was very very progressive for us. I feel like that was the best album that we've made.
Right.
Not just because it was our most recent, but because I feel like it kept the essence of what has made Dope popular and made our fans fall in love with the band, but also really allowed us to express the musicianship and show the talent that's in the band, both from a guitar playing, drumming standpoint. So that was good, and I feel like this record, Blood Money Part 1, is just kind of the next evolution of that. It's still very dope, but the band's always been very wide in the records that we make. You can go back to our first album that was very industrial and heavy, but had You Spin Me Around Like a Record on it. And then the second record had Die Motherfucker Die, and also had songs like With or Without You,
Right.
very melodic, or Now or Never, and so on and so forth. Every album has had a very heavy song and has also had a very melodic, not so heavy song, and there's various supportive songs throughout the records that go in those different directions. So this record's no different. To me, it's just another dope record. But it's kind of a personal record for me because, as I said, I've gone through a lot of personal stuff and personal growth, and it covers a long span because we've been away for a little while.
And so you said you have nephews and stuff now, other family members, is that right, that are growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I use that more of as an example, but yeah, I do have a little nephew now who's now 4, who's friggin' awesome. He's like my little dude.
Yeah.
But just life in general, man. When you do what we do for a living, at least for me, like, you know, I matured a little later. You know, like I feel like I grew up really fast up to like 25, but then from like 25 to my mid 30s, man, I was living a banana life. I mean, I was on tour all the time. Like, our job is to go to a city, throw a party, do crazy shit, and go, all right, I'm out. And like, you know, there's not a lot of responsibility attached to that stuff. And you know, again, from a business level and from a musician standpoint, I've always prided myself on being very diligent and hardworking. But personally, man, you know, like, I kind of realized that, you know, I wasn't the best man. I know that sounds a little weird, but like, you know, when you're out here and your life is to be the life of the party, and you're, you know, just doing this day after day and drinking and partying and having fun with your friends, and then you go home to real life, you know, sometimes you need to check yourself and realize that, you know, you need to grow up a little bit spiritually and grow up a little bit emotionally, and that needed to happen for me. So I'm glad I took a little time off to kind of look in the mirror and just, you know, become a better man, if you will, because it's all, if you have any women in your life or kids in your life, like, being a good man is a good thing. It's something that should be inspired. So I definitely needed to grow up a little bit, and I'm a much better man for that.
Right. So, and to what I was getting at with that, you mentioned having women and kids in your life now too. So it's kind of a silly question, but so you have songs like Die Motherfucker Die. What is it like when you have like your 4-year-old nephew? Is that just stuff you just shadow him from, or just shed him from, how do you keep him from hearing stuff like that, or do you even care?
I don't think that his dad would play that song for him. I know his dad has like a little dope mixtape for him, and it's got stuff like Spin Me Round and you know, some of the, you know, he loves Now or Never. He likes to jump around and dance to that one. But yeah, I don't think they're playing a 4-year-old Die Motherfucker Die, nor do I think that you should.
Right.
Yeah, but, you know, and again, I'm not talking about responsibility within the music, because I'll never censor myself in that regard.
Right.
But at the same time, just, you know, that's one of the reasons that our records are very wide in their subject matter as well, because I'm a human being and I experience a series of emotions. So as an artist, those emotions come through in the music that I make. It's very hard for me to understand how some bands, you know, kind of stick with one thing, one emotion, like, you know, a metal band that's just always angry and all they do is write about, you know, metal and serious shit. I'm like, well, what about the other parts of your life? Like, don't you have a heart? Don't you ever feel something else?
Right.
Yeah, but I don't put that in my music. Well, that to me is not being an artist. That's somebody that's like going, well, I don't talk about that because that's not what my band's about. That sounds like a marketing scheme in my mind, honestly. That sounds like people that are afraid to be themselves because they're afraid of what people might think of them. I feel exact opposite. I feel like it's my duty as an artist and as a human being to express whatever it is that I'm going through, in hopes that the people that are into my band may also be having similar experiences, and then therefore they'll be able to relate. So I've never shied away from writing what I feel, and whether that's this or whether that's this or whether it's this, like whatever the fuck it is that I'm going through. I'm a human being that experiences a series of emotions, and those all come out in my art. And I think that's important to, if you really want to call yourself an artist, I think you have to be able to tap into all of that, or else I don't know how pure you could really say you are.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us about this. You've done many interviews over the course of in the band.
2.
You've done second. This is your second interview?
I
was going to say, Jesus. With interviews, you get all kinds of these questions.
Sure.
Or questions that you hate to answer, or just repeatedly answer. Just something like that. Tell us about it.
I mean, you know, I appreciate informed interviews where, you know, they ask questions where you can tell they have a little bit of insight on the band and where the band came from. I think the annoying questions are, is Dope really your last name? I think it's pretty obvious that it's not, so that's kind of a dumb question. But truthfully, I appreciate that there are still people doing what you do and interviewing bands, because I come from the school, and I prefer the school where I make art and I make music and then I put it out there, and then people like yourself listen to it and, you know, come up with their questions and their thoughts, and then we have a little discussion about it, and then you're able to share that with the world. Whereas now it's more expected that I'm supposed to not only make the records and go on tour, but I'm supposed to go on Facebook and give the news as well. Right. And I feel like it's nice to have that third party in between the fans and myself when delivering the news. I feel like it's a little too... it makes it less special to me to just go, okay, hey guys, this is what I'm having for dinner, and here I am to talk about the new record. Like, I don't know, it's just, it's not what I grew up on. So, you know, I have to get used to that's just how it is nowadays. But we're breeding such a narcissistic society, man. It's hard for me to participate in that because, you know, if I ever thought I was a narcissist, the last 5 years of my life have proved to me that I'm not, because I have no interest of taking selfies all day long of like me and what I'm doing, and hey, look at me, I'm here, and hey, look at me, I'm here. But the artists that do that the most get more attention because people are so interested in seeing behind the curtain and experiencing the personal side of it. But it's really hard for me to do that because I just find what I'm eating for dinner to be so uninteresting.
Well, right. Anymore, yeah.
But some people it is. I mean, dude, Kim Kardashian can take a picture of a plate of food and get more attention than a fucking president going out and talking about something relevant. It's crazy where our society is at.
Yeah, oh, totally agree. There's so many social media outlets anymore, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, it's bananas. You know?
YouTube and Facebook, Backstage Entertainment, Wheelhouse. So
and you know, again, I'm not going to get into politics, and my personal opinion is irrelevant to my statement. But we're seeing it with our presidential race right now that has turned into show business. Like never before have we seen the presidential debates promoted in such a way that they are now. It's like you have a reality TV star running for president and making the American people react the same way that TV makes people react. Right. And it's incredible how our society has fallen into that. I mean, you know, you can go on news feeds now and it's like, well, today he said that the sky's blue. Oh, but yesterday he said it was green. It doesn't matter what he said yesterday. It only matters what he said today, because that's what's currently in our news feed. So it must be true.
Exactly.
So it's crazy, man. Our attention spans are so short, and the accountability level is non-existent. And see, I didn't even break character there.
Exactly, and I was trying not to either, but you got me.
We just had a naked guitar player walk in the room, and it wasn't good.
Nope.
But you didn't get to see it. And
nope,
unfortunately, I had to see it. But I've seen it so many times I wasn't fazed. You did pretty good, though. You didn't even blush.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Now, I told you that kind of being interesting and fun like that crosses over into what I told you. We have what's known for our interviews, our kind of surprise, if you will. Yeah, exactly. So we have what's called, and let me dust it off here a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Fans know what this is. This is called our BSC box.
All right.
Fans interact with us on Facebook. They send us their questions, what they want to ask you guys.
All right.
And we have a little twist that goes along with it.
All right.
So, throw him here. So, what you will do is randomly draw a question out of here, and then after you draw a question, so let's do the process. Okay, read the question for me.
This is a terrible question, though.
Well, then repick. You could get
it's too broad.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I mean, really, how do you answer that?
Yeah. By the way, what's the craziest thing you've had to do?
What's the craziest thing I've ever had to do? Let me first off say that my brain is like Kelly Bundy's. Like, for every new experience I have, I lose an old one. So I've lost more crazy experiences than most people ever have. Right. So I can't even answer that.
Let's put this one over
You got too many questions in here, too, dude.
That's why we don't duplicate questions.
Another one. That's like, I don't. Is that interesting to you? How has the band's lifestyle changed while on the road?
Ones in here.
I mean, I'll answer this quickly by saying that, well, I mean, when you're at home, you have a bed. When you're on a bus, you have a bunk. You have no real kitchen. Like, being on tour you lose every comfort of being at home. Right. So, and that's the good part is you get to go on tour and see your fans and stuff like that. But there is the concept of lifestyle change. You couldn't have a bigger lifestyle change from your house to being on the road.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Okay.
That's just not that it was a bad question, just not a very interesting question. Ask the interviewer or cameraman a question.
That's a good one.
Are you married?
Yes.
Shit. All right. So I have to be.
That was your question.
I have to be respectful.
I thought that was your question.
See, now I could really put you on the spot and ask you something really fucked up, but I won't because I'm a nice guy.
Okay. Well, thank you for being a nice guy.
Ask the interviewer or cameraman a question. Well, who's the most annoying person you ever interviewed besides me? Like,
I don't
who was
know.
just a
you're,
dick?
You're way up there.
I'm
but
sure. But who was just a total dick?
Total dick. I'm trying to think. I mean, usually, and then that's the thing. I mean, we're showing, and our whole point of doing interviews behind the scenes is to show what you guys are like off the stage.
Right. So who was a dick? You can say it. Don't worry.
I'm trying to think, honestly. There's interviews out there where they're just real short answers and stuff too.
So
but
who's a dick? Who was not nice to you? Who you were like, man, I thought that guy was gonna be cool. He was kind of a dick.
let's come back. I'll think because.
You're afraid to answer.
No. I'm thinking of 4 years of interviews and who.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
If you could party with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Okay, now here's the twist. Pick a number 1 through 75.
Ooh. All right, number 3.
Number 3. While you answer this question, you are pissed off at the world.
Well, that's every day.
So just answer.
All right, so I think I would answer that I would love to hang out and party with Jesus. Because I would get to the bottom of all this silly God shit. And
Okay.
I would hopefully find out that Jesus was an alien. Because I believe in aliens. I believe that we are descendants of aliens. I believe that the aliens came down here and found our monkeys and basically went, we need worker bees, and they took their DNA and they slightly altered ours and they made people. And then they had us do whatever the fuck they wanted us to do, which had to do with building all these temples and all these pyramids and shit like that, and ultimately said, all right, we're out. And that's why we thought they were these amazing gods, and they came down from the heavens, and they were in spaceships, and ultimately we worshiped these gods, but they weren't gods, they were fucking aliens, and they split, and they left us here, and now we think that, like, there's something bigger to it, but that's what I believe, and you know, again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'd like to hang out with Jesus because I'd like to know what he would have to say about all that, because I personally believe that he would not be the Son of God, clearly. He would just be some dude named Jesus that maybe had a good magic trick and made himself disappear into a cave when everybody thought he was dead, and he came back and was like, whoa, check this shit out, sleight of hand. Who the fuck knows? But I'd party with Jesus.
All right, Jesus. So that's your one.
Because I do believe he existed.
Right.
I just don't believe he was the Son of God.
Okay.
I also don't believe he looks at all like he was depicted to look.
Really?
Well, I mean, think about the time and the geographical location. He wouldn't have been blue-eyed.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had long flowing hair. He probably would have looked more like fucking, I don't know, he probably was like a little Indian Hebrew looking dude. Probably looked more like Gandhi than like we think Jesus looked.
Right.
But again, just my opinion.
Maybe the question we'll never probably find the answer to.
Do I keep going or are we done?
Let's do one more, how about? And then we'll get you back to whatever it is you're doing here.
Well, this one is a good one, but I'm going to answer it for selfish reasons. If you could claim any song written in the history as your own, which would it be? I'd probably say like Revolution from the Beatles, because I'd be fucking rich.
Oh, yeah.
We do a cover of Rebel Yell, which I feel like really suits us well, and every night we play it, I feel like it's perfect for my voice, perfect for my band, and I really wish that was our song, not for monetary reasons, but just for creative reasons. But I'm a capitalist, and I'm, because of that, I'm gonna say any successful Beatles song or Michael Jackson song.
Right.
Like, I'd love to have written "Beat It" because I think I'd be really rich.
Yeah.
Being rich would be good.
That would be nice.
Because money doesn't buy happiness, but money does buy freedom. And at the end of the day, if you're super fucking free and your pocketbooks are endless, I think you can find happiness some way, shape, or form. We all have dark places in ourselves, and money cannot fix those. But the freedom to go out and experience life and chase after filling those holes instead of having to spend it working, at a job or whatever it is that takes up the majority of your time, That's the part that money can help. Money can buy freedom.
All right, so to end it here, we've talked about sharing news over social media outlets and everything. So just what are you going to leave the fans with tonight?
I'm going to leave the fans with a very interesting but simple educational lesson on bands today and music. I don't care if you buy records from a financial standpoint, because at the end of the day, we make our money on tour and on T-shirts. That's really how bands survive these days. But I am going to say that in this interesting marketplace that we are in, if you're into bands that are not brand new, like there's kind of three kinds of bands. There's the big bands like Slipknot, Disturbed. You know, those bands are undeniably successful, huge bands that are profitable. And then you have the whole new slew of bands that are on their way up. And those bands have very aggressive social media fan bases because their fans are very young. Our fans are a little older, so we may have just as many fans going to shows and buying our stuff and participating as some of these newer bands, but their social media numbers will dwarf ours because their fans are very young. So they have, you know, they're pre-job, they're pre-having their own kids, they're pre-having responsibilities, so they're in high school and, you know, you put a picture up and they like the shit out of it and they go crazy for it. So if you're into bands, and I'll throw out some names. If you're into bands like Dope, if you're into Mushroom Head or Flaw or Head PE, Powerman 5000, Static X, you know, that level of a band, it's important that you buy the new releases that those bands put out if you want to see those bands tour. And here's why. Because if you just download it from a torrent site, or if you just listen to it on Spotify or on YouTube, there's no clear-cut data that says that fans are currently interacting and following this band. Like my band, I've sold 1 million records in my career. But if you were to ask a big promoter that puts together big tours, he would say, well, those are old records. That doesn't have anything to do with now. How many people care about Dope now? Well, the only way they know is when October 28th comes and our new record comes out, how many people in each market buy that record. Right. That is how the promoters and the people that run the music business judge whether or not you have value. Right. So if you want to see those bands on tour, you must participate and have your voice heard by purchasing the record. Whether you buy it on iTunes or Best Buy, it doesn't make a difference to me. And again, it's not about putting money in my pocket. It's about having your voice heard, that you support that band and you want to see that band on tour. Because the only two ways that they're able to judge nowadays is social media numbers and actual record sales of current product in the marketplace. And being as the bands that I just mentioned aren't going to have insane social media numbers because those fan bases are a little older, it's crucial that the fans support the new music that the bands put out in order to have your voice heard and have it be possible for that band to come back to your marketplace in the future. So something a lot of people may not realize, they think, well, I'm downloaded this song or I listened to it on Spotify, and it doesn't necessarily hurt the band financially, but it affects whether or not the band is able to go on tour because of whether or not you can show proof that there's a demand in your city for that band. So remember that next time you decide to purchase or not purchase an album from a band that you really like.
There you go. That's a great life lesson, and it's something to hear about with the music industry, of course, too. So
it's crazy time, man.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So again, Dope. Definitely get their album coming out October 28th. Get those numbers up so they can tour in your city. And any last words for them?
No, man, that's it.
Good.
Appreciate the time. Appreciate all the fans. We're having a very successful tour out here. A lot of people that are super excited that we're back, and we're grateful. Looking forward to next year when we're going to go on tour more in support of the album. This is more of like the reunion tour. We're playing all the old stuff, which we always do anyway, but put a little more focus on the new album on the next tour. But looking forward to feeling the fan support when that record comes out, so that we can put our hat in the ring for some of the bigger festival tours and those kinds of things. That the only way you get invited is if they feel that there's a pulse. So it's up to you.
All right. Edsel Dope. I'm Jeremy, Backstage Entertainment.
Peace, yo. He's
good
married,
to be back.
by the way.
That's
Found
right.
that out today.
That's right. See you later, guys.
Peace.
Hey everyone, become a fan of Backstage Entertainment on Facebook and enter in contests to win autographed prizes from the bands and entertainers we interview. By joining our page, you can also contact us to submit your own questions into the BSE box. And make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to see all of our interviews and backstage footage from the shows. From Backstage Entertainment, I'm Jeremy Lafrentz.